So now I want to introduce our guest speaker, Aaron David. So he's very familiar with SAE in all areas, including standards development, professional development, and also edge research reports too. So thank you for joining us, Aaron.
To see you, Beth Ellen. Hello, Angie. What can I do for you today?
Yeah, so thanks for joining us again today. We'll just ask a few questions about your industry, what you're publishing in, and then also a little bit about your specific edge research report too. So can you tell us a bit more about yourself?
Oh, okay, just a bit. I'm now almost at the end of my 4th decade in aerospace, safety critical applications, avionics, UAVs, military, civilian avionics, and so on, with the Israeli Air Force, Israeli Ministry of Defense, Civil Aviation Authority of Israel. And recently, in the last few years, I'm teaming with my good friend and partner, Vance Hilderman from Aviation, who is also an SAE instructor and also steers many pots at SAE, and together, better stay away from us. In the last few years, I'm the SAE instructor for Aviation Cybersecurity Regulation, the DO 326 set of standards. I'm sitting on a few SAE standard making committees. You can see 2 of those, G32 for cybersecurity for cyber physical systems, which takes place, by the way, as we speak. I'm missing today's meeting, but hope they'll get along without me. They'll surely get along without me. And artificial intelligence, that's for the next step of development. And about a year ago, SAE's Ms. Monica Noguera talked me into developing an edge report, which a year later brought me here to you to discuss things with you. That's about it.
And we're very happy to have you. And thanks again for joining us instead of the committee meeting, even though we know they're missing you as well. So we hear a lot about cybersecurity lately, mostly around ground vehicle. Can you introduce us real quick with cybersecurity and how it relates to aviation?
Oh, sure. Cybersecurity in general is, well, I'd assume that our audience has at least some basic a basic idea about what cybersecurity is. All of us have computers, laptops, etc. Neither of us likes to have their property penetrated, their information compromised, etc. The only thing is that aviation, and specifically airplanes, aircraft, are cyber-physical systems. They exist not only as information systems, although there's a lot of information in them, but they're also physical entities. So compromising their security, their information security, may lead to catastrophic results. Now, the criminals who try to penetrate, sometimes succeed in doing so, are quite different. When they try to penetrate a bank or even your privacy at home, they would usually go for your information, be it for the financial value of it, or for the privacy value, or just for fun, so to speak. I can see no fun in it, but they can, okay? But cyber-physical criminals, and by the way, I don't use the term hackers, as I have a few few folks I'm friends with. Some of them are ethical hackers, and they hate hackers being the term being associated with crimes. They have the distinction of hackers and criminals. Okay, one of them, by the way, have contributed to my Edge report, and that's probably arguably the first hacker to ever contribute to an SAE report. I assume. I know of no one before that. But just to illustrate in a quick 10 seconds clip, what's the difference between information hackers and cyber physical? Do you hear me correctly, by the way? Am I coming along fine? Okay, so cyber physical hackers, specifically potential aviation hackers, don't want your money, don't want your privacy, they want your life. So here, the attitude, the classic attitude of safety critical systems, protecting the safety of aircraft, etc., these come in handy. And you can see by the color of my hair that I've gone through some bad experiences in life concerning that. So the standards and the regulation are concerned with only one thing right now: safety. Safety of life, safety of property comes second, but is also important. That's the difference.
Thanks for sharing the clip as well.
Yeah, it took a glitch, but we managed.
We made it work. So your Edge research report deals with cybersecurity regulation. How does the regulatory landscape of aviation cybersecurity look?
Well, it relates to the subject I researched. Researching cybersecurity, even only for aviation, is so huge that I doubt we can make it in one research, even a very large one. And by the way, mine ended up being one of the largest Edge reports ever, I believe. So I concentrated in only airworthiness, protecting the airworthiness against cyber threats, and only the regulation, because there maybe not endless, but there's a huge number of techniques, methodologies, ideas, many areas, domains of profession that relate to aviation cybersecurity. So I focused on airworthiness, cybersecurity regulation. The regulation that we look into right now has a few layers. It starts with ICAO. That's an international body that regulates aviation worldwide, but that's very top level. There needs to be more detailed regulation, and there is. Then we have the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration in the United States, and the EASA, the aviation safety regulation in Europe, and all of them draw from what they call industry standards. SAE, by the way, SAE standards are also concerned industry standards, but in this case, there's a set of documents, the DO 326, and in Europe it's ED 202 set of documents. It currently, the core of it includes like 2-3 documents that would tell you how to develop airplanes and aircraft systems to be more resilient. It currently is stable on its initial version, and there are more documents developed. In about 2-3 years, we're looking at about a body of documents of about 1,000, including about 1,000 pages, like 5-6 various documents. And at the end of the day, in 2-3 years, we'll have an almost equivalent set in the United States, and in Europe, only the cover would probably differ. And these are tightly coupled with, tightly related to the existing aviation and airworthiness, safety critical standards, software development, hardware development, system development standards like DO-178, DO-254, ARP, SAE, ARP 4754, 4761, which, by the way, I lately also got to be the instructor for SAE for them as well, as in partnership with my friend Vance Hilderman, and it all relates. It all relates. They are very closely tied to each other. This is more or less the regulation. Now, these are the standards. Sorry, the regulation is stems from state organizations. In the United States, the FAA is about 70 to 80% of the way in making the set of standards, the DO-326 set in the US, the acceptable means of compliance. It's mandatory for most airworthiness tasks, not for everything yet. It's about to get there very shortly. In Europe, it's black and white. It's not as gradual as in the United States. In Europe, they started, they had nothing mandatory. It was a good, considered the best practice up to now. It was not mandatory, but in a decision taken last July, like 4 months ago, less than 4 months ago, they decided to make it mandatory starting this coming January 1st, 2021. So in a month and a half, if you're flying in Europe, you have nowhere to go. You have to comply with this regulation. This is more or less where we are right now.
For sharing that. I did get a few questions and we'll answer those after. But one thing I want you to elaborate a little bit more on the value that this EDGE report is providing to the readers. So I know you kind of went into the EDGE report, but what's the actual value of it to the reader?
Okay. Well, I'm a bit biased. You can tell that because I'm the editor of the report. So it would be odd for me to think that it's worthless. But I have some inputs to support my very positive views about the report. In general, I've been telling you about cybersecurity, the cyber threats, cybersecurity, and about the regulation. And had we stopped there, you would say, okay, we're done, almost. The Europeans have accepted it. In the US, it's about to be the law of the land in 2-3 years. So we're done. No, very far from that. And I'm not even relating to the fact that these standards keep evolving, because to quote one sentence of these projected 1,000 pages, this standard is work in progress. The standard says that. Okay, so there's a hint, first hint, that we're very far from being done yet. So when I was asked to put this together, instead of on top of putting together the views of a dozen extremely intelligent, knowledgeable, and helpful folks who helped me with the stuff. By the way, the greatest help I've got was from people whom I disagreed with, because they stirred the deepest form of thinking in the process. But the issue was that it's imperfect, and there were real flaws. There still are real flaws in the standards themselves, in the way they're perceived and around them. Now, finally, I found a huge amount of issues. I sorted them out in 6 different domains of issues, of uncertainties or unsettled domains. Each of them includes 6 topics, 6 different topics. So in general, you'll have 36 different issues with the current regulation and how to comply with it and how to not comply with it. By the way, this report could have easily been named "How to Destroy Your Certification in 36 not easy, but in 36 steps." Okay, and it goes. I just sorted it out top down, beginning with the aviation ecosystem that wraps up airworthiness. And just to give you the most top level example I can from this the first section, ICAO, that makes the top level rules, the world regulation, so to speak, includes some very high profile players, very high profile actors that are explicitly defined as the worst cybersecurity threats on Earth. So we have, out of the gate, not even out of the gate, before we even open the gate to doing anything about this regulation, we have an issue. And then it boils down to the supply chain, that if this regulation is taken seriously, and even not even literally, but just seriously, many supply chains in the aviation sector would be shattered. And how so? Read the report. Then there are issues with how to comply with these regulations. Some of the regulations and some of the regulators are still overwhelmed with this new regulation, and it's not black and white. There are issues, there are dilemmas with complying with the regulation. Then that's the first half that deals with the rep, which is enough. Okay. The second half, the other 3 domains, are more technical, and they deal with gaps, actual gaps. The standards say a lot, but not enough, obviously. So there are gaps. Some of them are technical, some of them are conceptual. The 5th domain, the second of the technical domains, is about inherent dilemmas. There are conflicts within the standards themselves. They're a bit messy, to flatter them, okay? And sometimes you get contradicting compliance mandates. That's interesting. The last one is conceptual issues, almost philosophic, but with very hard technical consequences. And the last one, I'm giving you 2 examples, the first one and the last one, more or less. The last one is that they are, at least for now, not yet robust enough to go to the next steps of, for instance, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, etc., and this is the future. It's not even the future; it's the present already. So this, in a nutshell, is the Edge report, and folks who have read it told me it took them a lot of time, and they had to reread it a few times. It's probably because I'm not such a good writer, but I hope there were other reasons as well.
So in depth, and you covered quite a bit of it here, but so it seems as though you just covered all of the different areas in which that were obviously all the unsettled topics. So you were able to cover all of it. So I would imagine that's why it's pretty in depth. I have one more quick question for you, and then we do have some chat. So if you want to make this last, we want to be able to get in as many of our questions as we can from our chat. So what are the next steps with Edge and also SAE in general with yourself?
Oh, Monica doesn't let me off the hook. I'm already doing the next one. Unsettled topics for airports, cybersecurity regulation. And if I thought airworthiness cybersecurity regulation was challenging, wait for the next one. I'm already sweating when I think about the work I have to put during your long Christmas, New Year's vacation to put it together and send it to the incredible Will Kuczynski, by the way. He's the actual writer of the report. I just sent him a cluttered draft, and he made the report out of it. Okay, there are a lot of folks at SAE working on it. So that's the next Edge report that I'll be putting. That was a sneak preview. Probably next year you'll be bugging me about this one. I guess the next one.
Awesome. I wouldn't doubt it. And Will and Monica are both very great. I agree. So, because I work very closely with them. So, and then I know they're actually both on the line. So, yes, they're both.
I know. I've seen both.
So we do have some questions for you from the audience. Here's the first one.
Only a few.
Only a few. What is the different way of approaching cybersecurity being for the military or the commercial aviation?
Oh, easy. In the military, you have a license to be killed. You don't have to stay alive. In the civilian domain, you're obliged to stay alive. This is what safety is about. In the military, mission is taught. So there are some DoD and other military standards that support cybersecurity, but they're more mission-oriented than safety-oriented. There is safety there too. However, there is a growing tendency in the military in the last few decades, at least 2 decades, probably 3 decades, to adopt as many civilian standards as possible. And I know for a fact, because I already worked with such, that militaries all over the world are adopting the DO326 set. That's DO326, DO356, and DO355. In Europe, it's ED202, 203, and 204. And many militaries are adopting that for 2 reasons. One, because it's easier to go for a common baseline, civilian and military. The other reason is that many military aircraft, including UAVs, have to fly in civilian airspace, so they have no choice. The civilian air authorities make them comply with it. So it's more efficient to comply with these and use them as military standards as well. That's in a nutshell. Okay, next question, please.
Concern you have today concerning aviation cybersecurity.
I can't see you, I can't hear you. So probably no questions. Okay, now I can.
Now you can? Okay. What is the biggest concern you have today concerning aviation cybersecurity?
Can you repeat that? I mean, I lost you. I lost audio.
What is the biggest concern you have today regarding aviation cybersecurity?
It's a question that can be understood in a few ways. If it's what's the greatest fear, the sum of all fears, of course, it's the taking over and crashing of a civilian airplane loaded with passengers. If this is the question, if the question is what is the greatest threat to, or what's the greatest potential for such an outcome, then no reply would be 100% accurate. And even if it is, the number one effect we need to understand about cybersecurity or cyber threats is that the number one issue is time. Nothing that is true right now would be true in a few seconds from now. So I can tell you, okay, it's insider threat. Okay, 5 minutes from now, it can be something else. If I need to put my finger on something that is not going to go away, it's not in the foreseeable future. It's the very long chains of supply. We can block anything, but chains of supply, the long chains of supply for aviation specifically, have the tendency of becoming insider threats. Now, remember, every chain of supply gets down to the last IC, to the last transistor, to the last resistor that is made by the same actors sitting on the board of ICAO as leading nations and defined by the NSA, the United States NSA, as the highest level state actor threats. Almost every single electronic component in the world is made by such actors, and this should scare the living daylights out of anyone who tries to assess what's the worst threat for aviation, cybersecurity wise. I wish I could be more optimistic. I don't sleep well tonight, I'm afraid.
You're just an expert, so you understand all sides of it. Understandable. I think with that, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
If we have any other
By the
questions,
way, if there are more questions, please encourage all the viewers, all the attendees to email me in person, and I will keep answering. The fact that we have no more time doesn't mean that I can answer no more questions. Okay. Yes,
thank you so much. And again, thank you for joining us. The link to your EDGE report is on the slide, and Angie also posted it in the chat. And we look forward to hearing about your next EDGE report around cybersecurity in airports. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, and look for another video clip for next year.
Perfect.